Okay, now I've been wanting to harvest these guys, so I'm gonna pick this up and carry it over here. So much easier to harvest when they're right in front of you like this. And I want to show you how I do my harvesting. And we'll start over here. I'm ultimately gonna shut this grow down because these aren't growing that well. This will be the third harvest that I've made on them, and they're not doing so great. They're not producing like they should. So it's time to put in a new batch. So essentially, what we do when we go through and harvest the first and second times is go in and take out most of the leaves, but you leave some so that things can grow back. Okay, you see what I'm leaving here is I'm leaving the center small leaves, which then will be the seed to future grains. And this will be dinner. Put that over there for now. And, okay, and then at this point, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and harvest the whole thing, so I'm just going to cut these off. And it's kind of interesting how different seeds grow differently, and you'll notice this particular plant grew quite a wide array of leaves as opposed to some of the others. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and completely finish this, but I'll give you a quick idea of how I do it. You just pull that up, cut that off. You can deal with this a little bit later. Okay. And then just do that all the way around, and then you're going to end up with some roots to deal with, but that's not a big problem. So anyway, that's roughly the idea. So I wanted to get that across today, and then I'll clean this up and we'll start a new crop in it. So, okay, now the other thing I wanted to show you, or wanted to do, is everybody asks if you can grow tomatoes. And I usually tell them, well, yes and no, mostly no, because you're so much better off growing leafy greens. And the reason for that is that everything you grow, you can eat. Whereas a tomato, you only get the little fruits off of the tomato. But with that said, I would like to do a little experiment today, and you're going to get to be part of it. So I started some little tiny Tim tomatoes, and I don't know where these came from, maybe Russia, but they have really strong little stalks, and they're pretty good at they make a lot of tomatoes. So I grew them one time before, just before we left on a 6-week vacation, and I came back, and the tomatoes the plant had grown tremendously, and there were tons of tomatoes on it, but it had dried up in the meantime. So this is a case where we're gonna, typically Kratky's systems are set up to be, use the nutrient and then call that the end of the end of the grow. Whereas if you're gonna grow tomatoes, you're gonna have to be adding nutrients pretty much every week or two once they get going, or maybe even every week for that fact. So let's set this up, and I'll point out a couple of other things while I'm at it. Wanted to, in case you don't have a lot of equipment, maybe you don't have a big level like I showed you how to level your tank. If you set your tank up and you fill it up close to the top like I've done here, you will see that the distance over here and the distance over here and over here and over here are roughly the same when the tank is level. So I again just used shims to level it up. It helps if what you're putting it on is already level, but you don't always get that option. So now let's take and cover it. Let's just double check and make sure I got my level right. Should have water showing. Yeah, pretty much there's water showing all the way front to back. Okay, I'm going to have the camera person stop for a second. So when I started these tomatoes, I wasn't really planning on doing it in a hydroponic system, but since I did, I started them in these little cups, which are just little bathroom cups that I drill holes in the bottom of. And so I'm just going to transfer them over to the net cups, and it actually works pretty well, except with the net cup I would not have gotten the twirling around the outside. It would have gone directly into the nutrients, but that's not going to hurt anything. So let's go plant our crop. One, two. Now before we're done filming this whole thing, you'll get to see these grow up. And it's probably going to be a riot of tomatoes. So, but there we go. We just planted our tomato crop.
Okay.
Okay, a couple other things I would like to mention to you. We've been basically adding 2 little cups of nutrients to our 9-gallon tubs, and we're generally looking for a particular level of nutrients. And the way you measure the level of nutrients is with one of these parts per million gauges. And you can pick these up on Amazon for $15 to $20. But I wanted to show you how to do it just using, a physical measurement in case you just don't have all that money.